Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve.
Hello, and welcome back to a 2024 episode. This is the first episode Alex and I have recorded for 2024. We feel like January is it can be a bit of a dreary month for people. It's quite long, it's after Christmas, the excitement of that's worn off. So, we're going to talk about self belief and about some goals that we're going to set ourselves financially and a little bit otherwise for this coming year. The self belief bit is really an origin story from each of us of how we first came across the financial independence movement and really what changed our minds going from actually this financial thing is difficult, it's hard, it's not doable, and then something's triggered in both of our minds and we've thought actually this is doable. And I certainly remember, I mean, for me it was a big mindset shift. And I'll happily share with you some figures of where I'm at now in my journey. I mean, I've been investing since December 2019. So we're coming up to just over 4 years. So I'll share those with you a bit later, but I'm going to pass to Alex now for his really the story that he has around his own self-belief in finance.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, and hi everybody, and thanks again for joining. So yeah, I'll just talk a bit about my self belief with money and the whole financial independence journey for me. So I've always been a bit of a saver, and I've always had an interest in money, and I've been as fortunate in that I'm programmed to just be a saver. But I think it was really for me was, and I never really had a I would save money just for the real sake of just saving money, hoping that one day I could afford like a fancy car and a fancy watch because that's what all the adverts tell you to do, and you're very impressionable as a kind of teenager and somebody in your early 20s. But for me, I came across an article, and I think Alex will have the same, and as probably a lot of you will, but it was an article on Mr. Money Mustache about retiring early and the math towards retiring early. And it just explains that, by saving up 50 to 60% of your income, you're able to actually retire in, almost 11, 12 years, which was something that had never even crossed my mind. I think for most people, retirement is an age, but it's like, well, I'll get to retirement at 65 and I'll work from now until that point and kind of get my gold watch from my company and off to the golf course. But so I've worked in, professional jobs since graduating university, pretty stressful, a lot of traveling. And there's a point where, yeah, I just thought I'm getting quite drained of all this, and I don't actually know how long I could do this for. And I don't really see myself working well into my 50s and 60s doing reports on how well the businesses are performing. And it was really after reading that article that it flicked a switch in me of being so much more mindful with where I'm investing and how I'm investing my money and how I'm saving. I completely changed my outlook on life. So my goal is still to, have a chunk of money invested for which I can live off. But really for me, the whole purpose of, trying to be material and have things to show off that you're doing well completely disappeared. For me, the important thing and the most important thing is having control of my time and doing what I want when I want with who I want. And I probably came onto that really aggressively, probably within about 5 years ago. And it was, yeah, completely transformational was that mindset. And I almost got obsessed with it. I mean, so obsessed, I wrote a book on the principles and a guide of how you go about doing it. And it does start out slow, your journey. It does, it's a lot of work to get control of your spending and redirect all that to investments and to savings accounts and changing a mindset, and one of very much deferred gratification, not one of instant purchases. But yeah, for me, that was over time. And I look back over the last 5 years, and yeah, my net worth is growing month to month on average. There's some market downturns which would kind of pull it down a bit, but this whole idea of get control of your spending, maximize your earnings, invest the difference, and keep that discipline. And over time, it really starts to grow and it really starts to make an impact. And, me and my partner were looking over our numbers over Christmas, and, we're probably 7 years away from being completely financially independent, which is really, so motivating and so encouraging. And so what started for me as a journey of, just really reading an article, I went down the rabbit hole, read as much as I possibly could on this stuff, was amazed that nobody ever gets taught it in any school. And yeah, I convinced my partner to join me on the journey. We want to spend time together, and we both have similar kind of stressful jobs. And for us, it's definitely, our life isn't about that. And trying to, trade up houses and cars every other year just because you can doesn't, that idea completely dissipated. And yeah, and it's really reinforced that belief for me. And yeah, I think it's something I'd encourage everybody to just get on board with.
Yeah, thank you for the succinct kind of explanation. So, just to add a bit of depth for you, the Mr. Money Mustache article was written in 2012, so it's been around now 12 years just. And I think I was very similar when I read that. I would describe it as just absolute clarity appeared in my mind, and I've always had this issue myself with a bit like self-belief and believing that I can do the things that I set my mind to. Despite working in the mental health field, I've struggled with that for a long time. So before I really got to my late 20s, early 30s, I didn't really believe I could do the things I wanted to do. I couldn't complete my dreams. Those were for other people, other lucky people, not necessarily me. And I wasted a lot of my 20s. I let life flow by me. It's something that happened to me. And then when I learned about this stuff, I had all this clarity in my mind, and that lack of belief that I had, it disappeared. And I realized at that point that I could have a positive impact on me. I can happen to my own life. I can have that good impact on it. And through all of that, I can change not only my trajectory financially in life, but also every generation of my family to come, because it's something that I hadn't been taught, I hadn't learned, and I was really curious enough, had the time and the space to read about it, and it's set me up on this journey that I'm only a little way into, and my plan and our plan here is to share that journey along with you, and hopefully educate, help, learn from you as well, and help somebody come along with us. So I think it's a journey really of self-discovery. It's not really a money thing. It's a journey of how you learn, how you interact with the world and the people around you, with money as an additional kind of contributor there. Of course, at the beginning, money's a real heavy aspect of it. So I think we've probably both chanced on the same article from looking at a similar thing. I mean, Alex has a finance background, I have a nursing background, or criminology if you want to go further back. And I think the learning that we've done, the processes that we've put in place to simplify it, can really, really help a lot of people. And Alex, I'm just thinking about when I first read that article, I was sitting just at my dining room table, typing away and hopping from blog post to blog post about people's stories and people's finances. And when I read it, I just kind of sat back in my chair and I was like, just boom, this is doable. And I've never experienced clarity like that since.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of almost that epiphany. Probably don't know if it's too strong a word, but I certainly found for me that clarity of wow, this is something that's really doable, and it's within to have ultimate control of your time and do what you want. For me, that was like, yes, that freedom, that is the number one goal. And I think, I don't know if it leads to happiness, but it certainly will be a huge contributor to, you know, to happy and contentment, and freeing up time to do some really meaningful things. But yeah, in terms of that article itself was, yeah, the one that really, that was the one that completely changed my mind on things. And another thing I did actually look at as well was, when I almost gave me another incentive, was looking at mortgage overpayment calculators. So there's one on um, the Martin Lewis website, and when we bought our house, the house just outside London was it's the most expensive thing I've ever bought. But you look at then the mortgage and just the impact of overpaying a mortgage. And for me, looking at that, and it's a very good calculator, and it not only shows how much money you're going to be saving, but it shows you how much time you save by not actually putting that much extra against your mortgage. You can pull it down by years and years. And that was another thing where it was almost like, wow, like there's no need to just follow the kind of well-trodden path of just you get a mortgage and you borrow what the bank tell you you can borrow, because why wouldn't you? And you pay that off for 25 years. It was something that, oh wow, you can actually completely change. You can eliminate your housing expense by really not that by investing only a small amount relatively per month. So I'd say that's another thing which, almost in combination with the Mr. Money Mustache article, almost really that supercharged my motivation.
I think it's always astounding when you look at not only the money you can save by overpaying a mortgage, which I think I've read somewhere it loosely translates to death pledge, like you'll pay it probably until you die in certain circumstances. And Alex, you say a 25-year mortgage, but I feel like over the coming decades, well, we're starting to see 30-year mortgages come in. I think that will only get higher as the retirement ages increase. So we could see even longer people signed up to that. And I think it's partly about understanding and partly making intentional choices. I think a lot of people buy too much house when they actually don't need to. And what they're doing is they're spending their income they haven't earned yet on spaces that need heating and cleaning and maintaining that they rarely use. And that doesn't make much sense to me. I would rather, as you say, have that time and freedom mentally, physically, to do the things that I'd like to do. Just another thing about you mentioning time is the ultimate freedom. So you've said it a few times, but you've not actually said what you're going to do with that time. You've said you'd like to do what you want with who you want when you want, but I don't know if you've heard of or looked at any work by Ramit Sethi. He would say that's not a good enough answer. What exactly are you going to do with your time? And I suspect you're going to say camping, a lot of different places, but I'd be interested in to hear your answer to that. I don't have a solid answer myself either, apart from the generic do whatever I want when I want. And I think I'll get really bored really quickly as those reward pathways kind of modify themselves inside my head. And then we're going to talk a bit about our really some financial goals and perhaps others that we're going to set ourselves 2024. So we're both going to be accountable to each other, but we're also going to be accountable to you, our listeners of this. And I'm hoping that we'll remember that we've set these, so work towards them, and we'll check back in December 2024. And I'll be able to give you hopefully an update on whether I've hit it or not, whether I've exceeded it, whether I've underachieved there. So I think that accountability will help motivate me make better decisions around what I do with the extra money I make.
Yeah, it's a good question on what you're going to do with the time, and I think it's something that I'm very cognizant of. Obviously, wanting to, you want to free up yourself and do what you want to do, but I'm quite fortunate, and I don't think for me it's going to be I'll still be working. I think I won't necessarily be working in the job or the industry that I'm in, or doing the type of job. But I think either the way I see it would be, probably as both dipping in and out of the job market, maybe on do 3 to 6 month contracts or mat cover one day, sorry, for a year, travel the rest of the year. Some years could be taking up a hobby. I love to cook. See myself as, quite adventurous and wanting to, I'm not afraid to try little ventures. So whether that's, starting up a small food truck or something like that. And also, another dream, we love to camp, both Amelia and I. So spend our time going around camping and exploring the world. To be honest, I want to see as much of the world as I can before the humans on it destroy it, to be honest. And so for me, travel is really important, but I almost would see, my time, and I don't have a super, super specific answer of what am I going to be doing in, February 2030, but it certainly won't be sat around watching TV. It will be adventurous, and it will be rewarding, and and I'm flexible with that. And worst case, I find myself mind-numbingly bored with nothing else to do, and I just go back to a corporation and get another job. And so that's kind of my way of seeing it. I don't, the worst case is you just carry on working, is my view. But that's certainly not what I'm planning on.
Definitely. I think that's a good way to put it. The worst case is I get a job like everyone else. And the upside there, the best case is unlimited, isn't it? I mean, whilst you were talking, I'm interested as well that you said you're like into cooking, which is an interesting thing. I'm really not a cook in any way, shape, or form. I have my wife to thank for that. But what I can make is pizza from scratch. So, inspired by my wife's Italian heritage and my love of pizza, I delved pretty heavy into that during lockdown when I wasn't working hospital shifts. So, if ever or when you guys come to my house, I'll make you pizza for the evening in a makeshift pizza oven. So, that's another thing that I'm going to be accountable for now, which is fine. But off of that, your plan of what to do, I like it. I mean, you can camp all over the place. I mean, there's, from a quick Google, 193 countries in the world. I'm not saying that's exactly right. It was a 4-second Google whilst Alex was talking. But I mean, why not have I don't know, a scratchable map and scratch a country off every time you go and camp in it, or every country you travel to, and just see how much of the world you can see. Because I think that's certainly going to be something on my own really list of things to do with the time that I'll have is to travel and visit things and hopefully be philanthropic with some of the extra money I have to support causes that I like. And really, I mean, I'm not into camping at all. I need a hard floor and a hard ceiling, but I don't need those. I want those. So I think that's something that I will certainly try and see as much of the world as I can do. I don't think anyone's ever said in their last years that I've regret traveling so much and I regret having all these hopefully wonderful experiences. So I think the regrets are more along the line of wished I'd not worked so hard, wished I'd been faithful to myself and truthful in life, etc. So I think that's a good thing. Alex, any more things on self-belief, or should we switch to some accountable goals for 2024 for each of us?
Yeah, nothing else. I think I would just try and reinforce that, self-belief is almost a self-fulfilling cycle. So once you set yourself a goal, no matter how big or how small, and you achieve it, the positive reinforcement you get is unbelievable, and it's showing that it continues to, and that continues to grow and compound over a number of years. So yeah, and I think we're both finding that with our own kind of investments and progress to financial independence. So yeah, that's the only thing I would add to that.
Cool. Okay. So for some goals for 2024 for me, I mean, yeah, you're sitting listening to this podcast. You're sitting to two people called Alex chat about money and life and financial independence, etc. You might think that, well, those guys have got it sorted. They're already rich. They earn a lot of money, and it's really not true. I don't think either of us earn an astounding amount. I mean, I've worked as a band six nurse for a while now, and you can simply Google NHS pay rates for that to see the kind of money that I bring in. So, as I said, I've started investing since December 2019. It was my first drop into the investment markets. We've discussed in previous episodes what companies we prefer, but again, do your own research with those. But I mean, I don't have any issue sharing this. I have total just under £25,000 invested in global diversified index tracker, and that's the culmination of me having direct debit every month for the last 4 years, 1 month, 4 years, 2 months actually. And I've always thought I could. It's comfortable. I don't miss the money every month. I could do better. So this year, I'm going to set myself a target of doing better. So last year, I put in to my investment account £6,900, just shy of seven. So what I would like to do is half fill my ISA for next year. So the limit in the UK is 20,000. I'd like to put 10,000 in from my salary for this coming year, 2024. And to do that, I'll have to put in £833 per month. I'm pretty sure the math stacks for that to be around 10. And that will mean I'll have to increase my direct debit by about 200 odd pounds per month. So it's going to be a little bit tighter than it would be before. I think it's doable. And if I say I don't quite meet it and I end up with 9,500 extra in there, it's still much better than nearly seven. So it's a win-win on either way. I don't really have any other financial goals in terms of having particular amounts for things. I just want to stick to the course, stick to the path, and really push myself to put more money in. That might mean I do some extra bank shifts. It might mean we make other decisions with money that we weren't going to make before. I don't know. I'll run those through with Alex before, but perhaps before I make them, and with you guys as well. But I think if I can have an extra 10,000 by January the 3rd, 2025, just the 3rd is the day we're recording this, but if I can have that, I'll be actually really happy with it. And if I can exceed it, I'll be even happier. So Alex, over to you for your goal for 2024.
Yes, I've got a few few goals. I try and normally set myself like a couple of financial ones. So how much money do I want at the end of the year? And then softer goals. But so for me, I have an ISA, so stocks and shares ISA. I have like a workplace pension, and I've also got a SIP, which the SIP was a combination of lots of other pensions from my previous employment. And so my goal is to have 250,000 split between those two by the end of this year. So that's my goal is, again, with the ISA, is to maximize that for this year and to contribute a sizable amount every month to my pension to get to those. So those are fairly stretchy goals, but yeah, that's kind of where I want to be at the end of this year. And then in terms of other goals on the kind of more of a non-financial, so I've got, growing this podcast and, get more and more episodes released and grow the following. I have the website of Financial Freedom Unlocked, which I'd like to try and grow more. So I'd ideally want to get to, I've put as a baseline of like 500 views per month on that website. So it's very specific UK and financial independence type content on there, and some personal stories about how I go about investing and my journey. And another thing I want to grasp is learn a lot more about AI, ChatGPT, just to see if, I've had a play around with so I actually another thing I do on an evening is Toastmasters, which is a public speaking forum, and I actually use ChatGPT to help me write some of my speeches just to get like a framework down, and it's absolutely insane how good that is. So I want to explore that with a view of trying to see if there's any other business opportunities that could be almost trying to link the two together. So more just to educate myself on that. So those are my goals for 2024. And yeah, I'm keen to we'll see what happens. And yeah, like you, Alex, we can give updates on progress throughout the year.
So this is one of the times that I wish I could see your face and you could see mine. So my jaw pretty much hit the floor when you said £250,000 across all of your accounts. But it makes me think about not leaving free money on the table. So I know we've discussed pensions before, but if your employer will match you up to a certain amount, make sure you're matching that. You work hard enough for your money, and you are obviously working to increase your financial abilities and your time freedom in the future. So don't leave any of that money behind. Be intentional, be smart with the money decisions that you make. Really think about the financial decisions you make, whether they're impulse purchases, whether they're needs versus wants. And I know Alex has mentioned about his website. There are an awful lot of articles there that go a bit deeper into some of the content we've discussed. So if there's something that we've talked about that you want some more or deeper info on, of course, send us an email at nursingyourwaytowealth@gmail.com. We'll come back to it in an episode and we'll discuss that. But at the same time, you can have a look at his website, see what's there. You might probably will find the answer there too. And I think it's just a good way of learning more about finances at your own pace. So if anyone's not set themselves a goal, anyone listening, that is, not Alex or I, you've heard ours, for 2024, make that your thing before the end of January. In fact, it's too long. Before next week, 7 days, come up with a financial goal, a health goal, and a different type of goal. So you can come up with those and be accountable to somebody. Tell us and we'll keep track of it for you. I'll ask Alex to make us a spreadsheet. He doesn't know that yet. But we can be your accountability partner for that as well. And I think, Alex, you've shared a lot about your other goals. So for me, finance will be fill half my ISA, so put £10,000 in the ISA. For health, I would like to continue going to the gym at least 4 times a week, which I've currently been able to do. Might be a bit of a stretch with a full-time job, but I've certainly felt a lot healthier from doing so, combined with watching what I'm eating. And a different kind of goal as well. I'm with you on the traveling thing. I'm not a fan of the tent camping approach. So for 2024, my wife and I are going to buy a camper van so we can travel a little bit easier for that as well. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but we used to own a motorhome quite a long time ago, and it was nearly as old as me. It was made in 1991 or 1992, I think. It was on an H-reg. So that's something we really enjoyed. I would just like to get something a bit more modern, a bit easier to fix when it goes wrong, and just something that's a little bit smaller so my wife would be happy to drive it around. So those are our goals. Come up with some for yourself and we'll help you along the way. Alex, is there anything else you want to mention for this episode? I know we're coming up to the half an hour point. So anything else around self-belief or goals for 2024?
No, I really like those goals. And I should definitely add, continue going to the gym, albeit not 4 times a week. I do once and twice if I'm lucky. And I think that probably wraps it up from me on the goals. But no, I think that's a good, nice, transparent episode.
Cool, I like it. And if you continue to do that at some point, I will make you and your partner pizza at home. So I'm quite good at it. So hopefully we'll arrange that between us as well, and we'll be able to celebrate perhaps a halfway milestone. If we're all meeting all of these goals we've set ourselves for and now are accountable for to our listeners, I'll be accountable to make you and your partner a pizza between you. Each, actually, not between you.
That's a deal. Yeah, one each.
Yeah. Definitely one each. You can have whatever you like on top. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Let's leave it there then. So we'll leave some links and show notes and stuff to Alex's website below. Again, if you have any questions, any thoughts, any goals that you want to set yourself that you want to be accountable to us and the community for, do email us with any thoughts around that too, which is nursingyourwaytowealth@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.